ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, your boys, Garrett and Joe, are back.
We are here.
After battling COVID in at our own homes. And
It was ridiculous.
we win the belt, and all of a sudden we get COVID.
I'm telling you, the belt is cursed.
It's not the belt. I think somebody did this on purpose.
Germ warfare? You think Z stooped to germ warfare?
He can't beat us 1-on-1. He's got to do something.
That actually holds water. But yeah, so we're here finally. All right, and we're back.
Finally returned.
We're going to be. We're switching things up here a little bit. Obviously, you can see I'm over here, so we've decided to split our duties since we have the two different shows. So,
duty,
Joe, since this show is Joe's idea, Joe's
my baby,
he's going to be over there, and I was like, I just want to talk about movies, and Joe comes up with this genius idea of a show.
And Garrett gets very stressed out being back.
I really do.
I don't know if you guys know
I'm not tech. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not, and it's like, it's other people's stuff, and I freak out.
Once we start recording, you can slowly see the sweat.
I get all glistening right here. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But we are back. You're going to be seeing these shows air on Fridays. It's going to be really cool, really different. Casey's on his way coming back from Brazil from his all of his training and the pole dance fighting.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
I'm super excited for him to show some demonstrations.
It's going to be amazing.
The only difference between this and Wrestle Fandom is most of these movie madnesses are going to be pre-recorded.
Yes.
Okay,
so we still want, if you're watching it,
comment. We look at the
comment. We'll be checking the comments. So for right now, yes, it won't be live. But today.
Well, first, let's holler at our sponsors.
Oh yeah, do that.
We tend to get very, very excited and forget the people that help make this happen.
I do. I get excited. It's movies.
And so do I. So we like our boy Josh at Rocking Horse Tattoo. You need some ink. You need a piercing. Anything. Go rock your horse at Rocking Horse. And go see our boy Freddie at Seasonal Sports. If you need anything screen printed, embroidered, some vinyl, any of that nonsense.
Shirts, jackets, hats.
Dude, he'll take care of you, okay? And our special guest today, you just heard some of his handiwork at the beginning of this show.
Yes. The man who we've thanked multiple times. He makes a lot of our stuff. Today are in studio, the man who got me in to vampire movies. This guy is the reason I watch vampire movies religiously. You know what I mean? It's like I like them, but then we got into them. Yep. Put him up on screen. Let's get him on here. It's Scott Washburn. There he is. Look at him in all of his glory.
What's up?
Look at that. Yeah, thank you for making those things for us, man. The intro for Movie Madness, the top 5 graphic that we have for Wrestle Fandom Radio. He's made a bunch of other stuff that people haven't even seen yet that we had ready to go, before pre-COVID. I always talk about it right before I launched the whatchamacallit thing.
The whatchamacallit thing.
Oh, I forget.
You're really breaking it down there.
I know.
We're happy you prepared for that. So
yeah, no, I know.
I'm very excited for the thing he emailed me that I want to all get together and do that.
Yeah,
that's going to be dope AF.
Yeah,
as the kids say nowadays. But without further ado, guys, let's
Fantasy League. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
the Fantasy League.
Let's look at what we got.
It's vampires.
Vampire movies. All right, take a good look.
Good look. Look at this. Right. This is gonna be fun.
Oh, it's going to.
We're gonna have a lot of fun today. This is gonna be a good hour.
Oh, this is gonna be amazing.
So what was up first? We have Bram Stoker's Dracula versus Dracula Untold.
Dracula versus Dracula, huh?
Ooh, yeah, Dracula versus Dracula.
That's a good way to start.
Dracula Untold was not bad, and it was supposed to be.
I was surprised by how much I liked that, actually.
It was supposed to be the start of that whole, basically rebooted Universal monster.
Yeah, the
with the Mummy.
Yeah,
they talked about doing another Wolfman, and it just. I think announcing a universe when you've only gotten like one movie in, and then the Mummy not performing the way it did.
I like that new Mummy though.
I didn't mind it at all either. It
I
just
liked
didn't
it a lot.
perform box office wise. Like, let's be real. Like the original Mummy trilogy is.
Well, the first two. Don't get me started on how much I hate 3, but we'll get to that when we get to those.
When we do Mummy movies.
When we do other monster movies,
should have done
creature
Mummy movies for Mother's Day.
You know.
So,
but then there's Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is, I mean.
It's amazing.
It's classic.
Classic.
It was like an instant classic. You know what I mean? Like Gary Oldman is like just untouchable as an actor.
Yeah. Oh,
in all honesty, you know.
The effects for the time that movie was made. Was
early mid '90s, and it was just like, you know, like the way it was shot. You know, like the way, you know, like that slightly elevated shot where it's pulling down, and he's just like that smile, you know what I mean?
That young, fresh-faced guy that was also.
Oh, it might have been, I don't know, Keanu Reeves, the greatest actor to ever act.
Right. He puts the acting in acting.
Yeah, he puts the act in acting.
Well, it's one of those movies. Like, it still holds up. Like, it was made now today. Obviously, it would look so much better. But I feel like part of the reason I still love this movie is how it looks to this day, and how it still holds up. So me personally, I'm going for Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah,
I gotta throw down just 100% on Bram Stoker's.
Yeah,
I mean, in that comparison to those two movies.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the end battle in Untold when he just unleashes.
Oh yeah.
That part's awesome, you know. But then the rest, it's like, you know, it's still. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was still good, and I was surprised by how much I liked it. I would have liked to have seen more, and I was like, because I saw it later, that, you know, and it was like, oh, it was okay, it didn't do well, and I saw it, and I was like, how did this not do well? This is really good. Right. But yeah, so Bram Stoker's, we'll move on to that. I'll lead over and do a bunch of them on that side in a month. So then we're going to take it down to 30 Days a Night to Priest. Okay. I'm going to start this real quick. The idea of 30 Days of Night is complete genius.
Like,
the execution of 30 Days of Night was okay.
See, I'll have to disagree with you there. Like, I thought because you got to remember too, this is what, early or like mid 2000s when it came out.
If it wasn't mid 2000s, it was like 2010ish. I'm not even sure. It wasn't.
I know it was before.
I think it was late 2000.
I want to say like 2008.
Because Josh Hartnett was still on fire.
Who?
Yeah.
Josh Hartnett, who's in this, he was still.
Who's Josh Hartnett?
Yeah, he didn't totally disappear. Damn it!
Actually, he just did that Penny Dreadful series.
Yeah, Penny. Yeah, which I still have been meaning to watch, but there's so much TV and shows to watch. Like the things.
30 Days a Night, 2007.
2007. Yeah. Okay.
It's just not the same. Not seeing him announcing Orc von Lichtenstein.
Yeah. No. That was a different guy.
So the thing was.
Yeah. What's that guy's name? I always.
He was in Priest. You're mixing him up. He was in Priest.
I'm thinking of Priest, man.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You went. Yeah. You jumped to. I don't know why I can't think of his name right off the bat, but yeah.
He's epic. He's
so great.
Such a good actor.
So the thing with 30 Days a Night. Like, as everybody knows, I'm a big comic book fan.
Right.
And, like, this is actually part of a huge series and spin-offs, and there's a lot of mythology in this.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of the comics. I thought they did a very, very good job, especially for that time. And we remember, 2007 is still pre-MCU,
it's a year before the MCU started.
So, like, we haven't gotten, like, these more faithful adaptations and everything. And honestly, if 30 Days a Night were to be done now, I think it would be done better as, like, a 6-episode.
Yeah, I think it would sound...
Now that there's kind of a formula on how to approach these comic-type movies.
Yeah.
And now these studios know that, like, oh, guess what? We don't need to do backstories for everything. We don't need to, like, we can just give them what was on that paper and
Right.
create. And like you got a couple seasons there worth of stuff.
Right.
I love 30 Days of Night. I love how the whole thing is. It's not black and white, but it's almost shot like it's black and white with lots of red highlights.
They do it justice because it's supposed to be in that time period in Alaska where the sun's not even up, you know, and I think the lighting, kind of captures that.
So I want right now in my head it's 30 Days a Night. I want you to try to sway me with this.
But Priest also has that similar type of shot. There's almost a Mad Max kind of like approach to it, to where it's like, it's
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's like almost post-apocalyptic in a way, and like the church runs everything, and I don't know, just all the priests with the cross on their forehead, and just kind of, I don't know, it's just a cool. It's shot in a similar cool way, and I'm happy you kind of paired those two movies up together like that, because
it's most of that movie is dark too. It's like there's only like a few scenes where it's actually in daytime, and it's usually when they're not in the city, because the cities are so, it's like almost like the Judge Dredd style thing. Like the cities are like the mega cities, and it's like the pollution then, because like you can't even get through the, so if they get to the city, it's over because the cities are dark.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's a difference though, like where like, I think 30 Days is more of like you said, it's that comic approach to it, where you
almost a little noir.
Yeah,
yes,
almost
a little noir.
To where Priest is like
we're going to
give you an action movie in the style of Underworld and a few other movies that were shot like the what was that one about the warlocks? It should have had like 20 movies and it only had one. I can't. Sebastian Stan was in it. I can't. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it. I'm doing terrible on remembering the names of things and actors and everything today. Who let this guy on the show?
Well, you got the COVID fog still there.
You set him in the wrong seat and he doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. No, I forget stuff over there too. It's even worse. It might even be worse over there.
I think it is worse.
So,
but there's.
I'm actually
Priest kind of has like those overall themes too, though. You got like the move it against the church, and there's like this hierarchy structure of like trying to control and some deceitfulness and all that kind of stuff. So the plot lines are a little different.
Yeah. It's like I watched 30 Days a Night, I think once, maybe twice, but I will watch Priest more. I think it has more rewatchability.
I'm the reverse.
So for me, I'm going Priest.
I'm going 30 Days a Night. Like
it's on you. Oh, it's on you, Scott. You got to be a tiebreaker. Glad it's not me. I like when it's not me.
I'm trying to think. I'm looking ahead a little bit here.
And, it might not matter. Don't worry about that. Don't look ahead, because sometimes it might not matter.
But at the same,
one down at a time, Scott.
Yeah, one at a time. I don't know. I mean, I think Priest has its. I don't know. It definitely has its.
Put the one shot on Scott.
Advantages there, but 30 Days. I like the concept. I mean, I like that. The fact that in Priest there's daytime. There's time when the vampires are like they're locked down. And they're able to kind of move around and do things. Yeah. The difference with that in 30 Days is like it's night the whole time.
They had to hide for a month.
You got to hide.
They had to hide for a month.
Never ending.
30 days of night.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I don't know. I just think it's an interesting. Adaptation to the story. I just think that it's a comic. It's a comic, and I think they were kind of like they're bridging into a uncharted territory at that time when that movie was being made. So for that, I think I'll throw it to 30 Days, man.
All right, all right. So we're gonna go for Bram 30. Okay, so then we have Abe Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, versus Fright Night 2011.
I got a lot to say about that.
I have a little to say about Abe Lincoln in the fact that I was shocked by how good of a movie it was.
So you've never read the book, have you?
I haven't, but Fright Night, which I think, and if you look, you'll notice that the other Fright Night, yes, it's an 80s classic, but we have to be honest about it at the same time. But the the Fright Night 2011 has two of my favorite actors in it, and it is literally just, I think, extremely well done movie.
It was
David Tennant and unfortunately Anton Yelkin, who passed away of a stupid Jeep accident. But it's. I actually just watched it. I don't know, about a week and a half. I think I watched it during COVID lockdown because I knew we were trying. I watched like a bunch of different vampire. No, I just upstairs locked in my room when I could. I was the only one who had it. Just to get me out of the way.
You're going Fright Night.
I have to go Fright Night again. Abe Lincoln is great. I was shocked by how Kate and I watched it, and she was like, I can't believe how good of a movie that was. It's called Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. She's like, it's a really good movie. I'm like, I know. But for me, it's Fright Night 2011.
In that series, there's Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter and The Last American Vampire. And I read the book. Actually, I read both books before I watched Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And if you read the source material and then you watch the movie, you would have the same opinion of me. That movie is garbage. Like,
really?
It does not even remotely live up to the potential of the source material. I just reread both books a couple months ago, like just being bored because they're so good in the way the writer weaves actual history.
Right.
With everything, and actually, from what I understand, I don't know if it's still happening, but The Last American Vampire is supposed to be a series that comes out soon, and all these different points in history, like Abe Lincoln, covers just Abe Lincoln's life,
right.
Where The Last American Vampire has flashbacks back to the beginning of the Roanoke colony up until present day, and it's amazing.
Do you think that when they were that movie was in production and they were making it, that they probably decided to focus more on the action end of it versus where they could have gone back and done a little more of maybe a timepiece thing and encapsulize what you're saying, taking actual history in this movie and showing just going back and
I feel like
getting a little more embodied in that,
right? Because there's a lot of action points in the book. But a lot of it is that history, that build up and everything. And I feel like they almost Michael Bay'd the movie.
Okay.
And made it.
That's what I'm saying. That they really took that action sense. Yes. Let's sell this movie as an action movie versus what it could have been. It could have been that. That's
exactly
and more.
what they did. And I hope 10 years from now we get a new adaptation of it that actually will live up to the potential that's there in the book. So my vote will go for Fright Night also.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the same thing. I mean, I like both movies, and Fright Night is like you said, it's the 80s. We have this again. We're bringing in kind of some cult classic ideas, and it's a remake, but. David Tennant's awesome.
David Tennant.
I mean, he's just amazing. I mean, when you're a Doctor Who fan a little bit too. So.
Yeah, no, not a little bit.
A little bit.
David Tennant is my favorite Doctor. Yeah. But then he comes in and he's he's so funny in this, and then he's funny, but he's a jerk, and then he kind of comes around, and then it's.
I think I gotta say the same, especially just because, Abe Lincoln in some ways missed the mark, especially if you've read the books. Absolutely. So I think Fright Night's I'd throw my vote on that one.
So Fright Night goes on.
All right.
We have Once Bitten.
And My Best Friend is a Vampire. Okay.
Come on, Jim Carrey is one of his first movies, man.
I love both of these movies. Okay. I don't know. I feel like the Best Friend is probably a little less seen of a movie. But I don't know. I just because it's on one of the sites, so I streamed it and I was super excited. I was like, I haven't seen this since I was little, and I still love it. And I still loved it. It's it's a teenager. He gets bitten by a vampire, and another vampire shows up and shows him the ropes, and so his best friend's dealing with him being a vampire. Yeah, and he's so all this crazy stuff that goes on, and they're trying to outrun a hunters, and
I like the realistic approach they had in that too, where like there's that scene where he just kind of comes in and he goes to make something in the fridge, and it's just like he's just grabbing raw meat and stuff, not even really realizing that he's doing it.
And he's just like, and he's like, what the, you get, but I mean, I put these up together purposefully because they're older comedies, very much in the same style, and then then there's Once Bitten, again, another kid gets bitten by a female, but she's trying. She has to take her time to turn him. It's very different, And then like his two best friends are trying to stop him. Meanwhile, he's trying to carry on this relationship with this girl he really likes, and it's. I don't even know which one I'm going to pick. I'm going to be honest.
They have a lot of similarities.
They have a lot of similarities.
Very similar movies.
I mean, I'm going to throw it out right off the bat ahead. I'm just going to vote for Once Bitten because it's Jim Carrey, and I love Jim Carrey.
I know you do.
I love Jim Carrey.
I'm going the opposite because I very, very slightly more enjoyed Best Friend better.
I think Best Friend might be a little bit better of a movie. In all honesty,
I agree that it's definitely like it. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy both movies. I'm throwing my vote towards Jim Carrey though, just because
I think we're going Best Friend.
It wasn't his first movie. I want to say his first movie. He played like a short. I think he was as an alien. He was like doing this weird alien language.
Movie
yeah, I think it was the Deadpool.
Yeah, it was in Deadpool where he played the rock star.
It was the Deadpool. Yeah, he was a rock star. Yeah.
Okay.
But because they were like they were offing Rockstar. He was like the rock star they got offed real quick. So, all right. So we're gonna go.
I show Once Bitten a little love, but I agree with you.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love it.
Ultimately, can agree with as far as quality of movie. I can agree with where you guys are.
So he was. He actually was in Peggy Sue Got Married.
Was he?
And Copper Mountain. I don't even know what that is.
I don't even know what Copper Mountain is, but hey.
But his first big one was the Deadpool, followed by Earth Girls Are Easy.
Earth Girls Are Easy
is the
there you go. You were right. Earth Girls Are Easy. Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum's in there too, isn't he?
I don't know.
I want to say it's Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum? Yeah.
Gina Davis.
And I remember one of the things a lot of the people notate that worked on that set and talk about that movie is that Jim Carrey came up with his like own alien language that basically only he understood, but it was pretty consistent on set, I guess.
All right.
It sounds right. Sounds about right.
Sounds like Jim Carrey.
It sounds like something he'd do.
So the next one is we got From Dusk Till Dawn, and is that Dracula 2000?
Dracula 2000. Okay.
I don't know why you're placing both of these against each other.
I'm kind of upset that you put these two together because
you have to pick between them?
I just think that there's Dusk Till Dawn. I mean, we'll get into that. but Dracula 2000 does something I kind of like a little bit, where it brings history and it brings religion, and it kind of melds them together in a cool new thing. It's a reapproach to Dracula, but I really like how, and I think it's one of the first ones that did it. That concept that Judas of Iscariot became.
That Judas was
that it all came to because of this
that concept.
That's
I remember watching that and being like, "Yo, Dracula is Judas Iscariot. Shut up, that's cool."
The action in that movie was great. The effects were great.
Yeah. The effects are still good at it. Like
they're still good.
Very simple.
They hold up the time.
Was it Omar Epps just comes out of the fog? Yeah. And he, you know what I mean? Like he literally just comes straight up. I
just feel like with Dracula 2000, it was just maybe even half a decade, if not a decade, ahead of its time.
Right.
Like, I feel like if they would have waited a little bit for some of the special effects and for a writer to kind of make the plot a little bit more streamlined, cohesive, and everything to work the history and stuff in, I feel like it could be like one of those top-notch movies.
If you were to IMDb this movie, like there's so many good people in it.
Oh yeah,
like the cast, it's a packed cast
and
from everywhere.
Young.
Everyone in that movie is famous, flat out. You know what I mean? That's this person had their time. No, it's like everyone in that movie is famous. And it's a really good. I think it's a really good movie.
I think it's a great movie, but when you're matching it up to Dusk Till Dawn, I don't think. I mean, Dusk Till Dawn. First off, it's Quentin. It's Tarantino. It's comedy. It's horror. It's action.
Let's be honest. I was never turned on by a vampire until Salma Hayek. But like, do you know what the brilliant thing about this movie? For the first half hour, if you don't know what you're getting into, it's a heist movie.
It's not even. It's not even the half hour. It's a first hour. It's like the first hour of the movie.
Oh yeah,
because they don't like the first like vampires don't pop up till like I swear to God I think it's like 45 minutes in the movie. I've never actually looked, but it's like
Salma Hayek's the first vampire you see, isn't she?
Well, no, because she as soon as she changes, everyone changes.
Yes.
And then it's on. But if you think about how quick everything happens, then she changes, they attack. They take out. It's like the huge murder scene. There's heads rolling.
Yes.
There, throats being ripped out. Like all the carnage and everything. Then there's like the few survivors. They handle everything with Tarantino. They kill the people left over. The last two people like change. All the bats come in, they go to the room, they come out, they kill everything, they leave, it's over.
Yeah.
Like it's like
the band
so good.
The band playing the body parts as instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
the only part that I thought was stupid, actually.
When you see
how did it change that fast?
When you see Danny Trejo in any movie, do you not automatically remember that role? I mean, every time I see him.
Is the bartender when he comes up?
Every time I say, there's other movies he's
Desperado.
There's other movies he plays a bartender in, and I'm like, watch out, he's a vampire.
He's gonna.
And that's the first movie I remember seeing Danny Trejo in. And like going back, watching movies, like rewatching.
It was that and Desperado were the first things I remember.
But like he, like Scott said, he stuck out. As, like
he got Cheech.
Cheech in three different
hilarious.
roles.
Quentin Tarantino being in the movie. Was I thought?
Yeah, well, he didn't direct. He produced. It was the same guy who did Desperado. Was the director.
But
what was his name?
So Quentin Tarantino produced it.
He produced it. Yeah, he produced it. He might have co-wrote as well, but then obviously he was.
I thought his acting was.
He was
good
the
in that
gecko.
movie.
Robert Rodriguez. Thank you.
And written by Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, written. Okay, so then it was Richie Gecko. Because also my favorite role, and maybe it's because of this, but like it's different than anything else he ever did. But George Clooney as Seth Gecko
is great.
He has his attitude in that movie is literally unlike any other character that he ever played.
Oh yeah,
the George Clooney is probably one of the best actors of. He's older than us, so like not our generation, but our time.
I mean, older than
I think the movie would have even been good if they casted somebody else. But I think George Clooney is the person who basically signed the deal of that movie being awesome.
100%.
Yeah, like he really sold it.
Let's be honest. Quentin was still kind of new, so like that's kind of what put that movie in the forefront.
That's the thing too. The date, like you go back to when that movie was made. I mean, look at the effects and all that stuff. We were young. Like that movie was ahead of its time when it comes to some of the effects and things.
1996.
And that last scene.
Yeah, 96.
I was the same age as my oldest child right now.
Yeah, I remember I watched it with Adam Belanger, and I was like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what type of movie it was. I saw Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, George Clooney. That's it. And so I was like, oh, let's watch this movie. It'll be cool. And then like, here's a heist. Here's the getaway. And all of a sudden, boom. And I was like,
That movie holds one of my favorite reveals in a movie that like you don't realize the whole time you're watching it, and they come up and you see the front of this place and the front of the bar and all that, but at the very end of the movie when they pan that back and you see those old ancient the pyramid and the ruins and all the all the pushed over vehicles and stuff all crashed down at the bottom, like they've been doing this for centuries and centuries.
I love it. I love it. It's genius. Cool. And then like one of the funniest things I think, because George Clooney's been in other, funny stuff. But I think the funniest thing, is at the end, the place blows up, from all the vampires exploding inside. He throws his stuff down, he turns around, and he punches Cheech Marin in the face. And he's like, why out of all the godforsaken places did you have to choose this place? And he tells him why. And he's like, well, my brother's dead. That girl's entire family's dead. And he's like, what, were they psychos? He's like, psychos? Did they look like psychos? Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are. Like that is one of the funniest. Like I laugh every time he delivers that line, and I've seen that movie probably 20 times. It's such a good line. But
so I think it's safe to say
we're going Dusk Till Dawn because we just talked about it for 10 minutes straight.
Dusk Till Dawn. I mean,
it's so good.
So then we have Underworld 2 versus Van Helsing.
You gotta write Dusk Till Dawn up there, bud.
Oh, yeah, I'll do it.
He's being lazy.
Don't worry. I'm not being lazy. I'm just waiting.
So Van Helsing was entertaining.
Yeah, in this, it was that same style of, like Priest, the way Priest was shot, the way stuff like that.
Underworld 2, I have very conflicting opinions about it.
Okay, what are your conflicting opinions?
Because it works well if watching Underworld and Underworld 2 like back to back.
Right.
And it definitely continues on with the concepts that we already had been established, so it doesn't waste time. It kind of goes into it.
Goes right into the action, right into everything, yeah.
That's true.
It didn't do it for me the way the original Underworld did. And Van Helsing, as cheesy as it can be in moments, had a little bit of more rewatchability for it to me. Like, I would never just go be like, hey, I want to watch Underworld 2.
Right,
like,
you're going to watch Underworld and Underworld 2.
Yeah, I watch Underworld like over and over.
Right, and there are times where I'll watch
But if you're going to watch Underworld 2, you have to make sure, it's like you have to watch 1 and then 2.
Right.
Although was it Marcus? They made him look badass.
Yeah.
He did look badass.
I mean,
the original vampire.
He was a badass looking vampire.
And that's the other thing, too. The ending of that movie, like that final fight scene, is just epic. Like, but there are, like, really, like, hokey fight scenes throughout it, like, as they're being chased and everything. And, like, it's just... I'm going to go Van Helsing.
Okay.
Because of Hugh Jackman.
Scott? Because it's Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
He's pretty.
And Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah,
I think it was
I forgot about that. Yeah, she's in both of them.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go Van Helsing on that one. I mean, I like Underworld 2 for a lot of different reasons. But I think you make a good point. This is definitely not like a bash on Underworld, because really, Underworld 2 to me doesn't meet the same mark Underworld did for.
Right.
And that's why I'll throw that.
Right, because when the sequel came out, you're expecting, okay, they got to up the ante. They didn't exactly up it. It just continued.
Right.
Yeah, and I think they lost some of their plot line going in the second one. Yeah. They tried to throw in I think too much in one movie, where they had a franchise starting and they knew that they could make a whole bunch more, and I just think that they ran too quick with the plot lines.
Yeah, and like the movie came out, I want to say within a year of the first one.
Pretty
like,
fast.
It was very quick.
Yeah.
They like didn't give it time to marinate.
Yeah. So then we're going to take it down to Vampire in Brooklyn versus Daybreakers. Two very different vampire movies.
Very, very different.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
I would say it's a dark comedy.
It is
because
I think it attempted to be almost a bridge into the horror realm, because like Eddie Murphy's kind of scary in some scenes of that movie.
Are you kidding me, dude? Like he is an absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, like it's a really weird light to see Eddie Murphy and growing up and seeing him and everything else he played in. What a difference!
He does this, and then like this I feel like didn't go the way he wanted it to. So he goes from this to Nutty Professor, be like, all right, that didn't work. I'm gonna go to the polar opposite.
Yeah. Just go all comedy with it. And
yeah, like
all family comedy, not all the good stuff he had been doing. I mean, I really like Vampire in Brooklyn.
Right.
But Daybreakers is an extremely interesting movie to me.
It is.
I like the fact that like everyone's a vampire. Like we've gone to the other side now. Everyone is a vampire, and then they find people that like are now humans. Is like how did you become it? And it's like it's almost like a spiritual release from it. You know what I mean? Like being baptized and rebaptized in fire to get rid of the vampirism. And, even though all of it is not like totally 100% clear, I don't know. It's a really good movie. I'm not even sure which one I'm going to go for yet. I mean, I don't know where you guys are lying.
I'll go Daybreakers just because.
I think I'll go Daybreakers too.
Well, then I don't even have to worry about it.
I think Vampire in Brooklyn has its highlights, but I think in a lot of ways it missed its mark.
I like when he spits the ear out and he's like, I just had Italian. Yeah, it's pretty funny. That was a pretty funny spot. But all in all, a lot of it wasn't, the greatest. greatest
what do we got there next?
stuff. Ultraviolet versus Twilight. I put the last two that I didn't really care about on the bottom. So Ultraviolet is like, it's
now when you
the idea of Daybreakers, it's like okay, there's a
Twilight.
vampiristic type of
Twilight.
Thing, and then.
Twilight.
When you say
Twilight.
You're still gonna go Twilight?
I'm going Twilight.
Now, when you say Twilight, are you encompassing like basically 3 movies together?
No, just
4 movies actually.
Because I think the first movie is like I don't know. The first movie.
No, there was 5 movies, wasn't there? Because there was 4.
there was
4 books, but there was 2.
Yep.
You always got to
1,
stretch.
2, 3,
you always got to stretch the last book in the 2 movies.
I mean, the series as a whole, I think, is a different story than just looking at like the first.
I agree.
Because the first movie wasn't meant to be a standalone. It was meant to be basically a character introduction to the rest of the movies in a lot of ways.
Well, 100%.
So I think you kind of have to look at that a little bit as a franchise. But
it really gave us our introduction to Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
Vampires really do turn into bats. Yeah,
really just say that.
Who's excellent?
Yeah, I honestly like. I literally don't. Yeah, don't care either way. I think what people don't really like about the Twilight stuff is that the vampires like literally look like they have glitter in the like they, it's.
See, people bring that. Okay.
See,
I'm saying I think that's what people don't like. I didn't like. Just most of like the overarching. I think what's her name's acting in this was atrocious in the entire series.
Stewart?
Not in the entire series. I watched 1 and 2, and I don't even think I watched 3.
Well,
See, I think the movies got better once you got into those later movies. You got a little more action. The storylines started to kind of culminate into something more.
I agree with that.
You got the evil vampires in there. You started to see the Voltaire. Like they came in.
The Voltaire, yeah.
They were. I mean. The same guy who played Lucian in Underworld was amazing in that movie.
Yeah. He's amazing at anything.
They definitely depicted, the things I always hear people hating on is like, they didn't depict vampires in this evil way. And I'm like, well, that's because the main characters of this movie are trying to basically be like the vegans of vampires, They're trying to keep their humility and not just like
they're not
give
trying to
in
lose their humanity. And
their humanity.
That's actually something I really, really enjoyed about these books and these movies. Because it was a different take. It's not just like, vampires are these soulless creatures. It's representing them as a subspecies of humans and how they would interact, what things they would do, how, like, look at us as people trying to control just certain impulses. Like, if somebody, like, pushes you, what's your first impulse? You want to knock them out. But depending on what setting you're in, you might have to restrain yourself because of your humanity.
Right.
And watching these people over time and forge, like, this family bond. And let's be honest, without the Twilight movies, we would never have been introduced to the national treasure that is Anna Kendrick.
Which, what's cool about these, the Twilight movies, like you mentioned the sparkling thing, and I think that one of the reasons that they did that, like, on face value, you're kind of like, vampire sparkling, but I think that they were trying to do something that I personally like in some movies where they don't over-explain the origin of something, and they keep your mind kind of wondering what it is. You just think that it's like this hellspawn idea or something, or like they're just inherently evil, but they're kind of showing throughout the series that they're necessarily not evil, and we don't really know what they are. We don't know if they're the ancient depiction of some sort of godlike structure or something. We don't know,
or natural evolution.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what they are, and I think that leads to an allure that I like to see in stories. That it's like you look back, and I know this isn't vampire related, but you look back like a movie like Highlander. Why did that movie was that awesome compared to the other ones? Because they didn't explain. As soon as they explained where they came from, it was shit.
First off, the explanation was garbage.
And the explanation was garbage.
Like the 3 of us could sit here and write an entire Highlander series, and it'd be amazing because we would like be true to. We would give it. It's true.
Wouldn't have to be aliens from another world. Yeah. The second they entered the planet, you all of a sudden become young, and the Highlander battle starts on again. Like
it's so bad.
That is something for another.
It was so bad. It was so bad. But Scotty, Twilight's going on.
You going Twilight?
There were some other things in the movies I thought was great too. I thought they did great with like the score for the movie. Like when the music in Twilight is what I like to hear in a vampire-ish type movie.
And
I thought the score was well.
Werewolves too, like how like almost like natural enemies kind of thing. Again, with the evolutionary thing, instead of like, oh, we're vampires, oh, we're werewolves, we don't like each other because of. Back in the Crusades, one of us was, no, it's a natural, like, they would be on the evolutionary chain. They would kind of be enemies. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Like, it makes sense.
Right. I didn't read the books, but I know a lot of people who did, and they seem to have a pretty good tie-in to what the books did. Like, it was a good change in medium, and they were able to do that successfully. So I'll give that credit. That's how I would vote for Twilight. I mean, definitely on that.
Yeah, I mean, you're both going Twilight. So, honestly, like, for these two, I didn't quite like totally care. So
talk about success.
Guys,
I mean, if you want to talk about success too, I mean, if you want to put that into the kind of, the metric of what you think of a movie, I mean, it was clearly very successful.
Oh yeah.
So now we have Blade versus Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I cannot tell you how many times Scott and I sat in his room and watched Blade. I couldn't tell you because it was like it'd be like Monday, what are we doing? Oh, let's go to my house and watch Blade. All right, Tuesday, what are we doing? I don't know. You want to go watch Blade again? Sure. Wednesday, what are we doing? Oh, let's watch Blade. So, we did it. Like
without Blade, we don't have the current landscape of comic book movies.
No,
I completely agree. No. I think that Blade took a comic book and was one of the first to really take the cartoon bullshit out of it, as far as turning it into a motion picture, not be afraid to throw a little darkness in there and actually create. It was vicious. Yeah. It was well done, and I'm sorry, but
it opens with a bloodbath.
Listen, Wesley Snipes is awesome.
Yeah,
but Deacon Frost is one of my favorite vampires.
He's such a good bad guy.
Oh my god, he's like there's so much with this movie, and like. Take it and like it's done.
Such an entitled prick.
Perfected is taking a character who's been kind of changed. Like originally in the comics, he was a British dude wearing
a white British dude.
No, he was a black British dude.
Well, no, I thought he was white.
Nope.
I thought he was like red hair.
No, he had a little.
Who am I thinking of though?
Actually, I think you're thinking of the character that Ryan Reynolds played in the third one, Hannibal King.
Oh, might be, yeah.
And he had a flowy green shirt. And, like, he was this British dude, which I actually think for the MCU, they're going to go back the British route for him. But to kind of taking what they had done in, like, the Spider-Man cartoon with him and kind of, like, what they had started doing in the comics, making him, the black coat and everything else. And then getting an actor who really doesn't have much of a personality, like, especially at that time, Wesley was going through some shit, and put him in that role utilizing his martial arts skills, streamlining a lot of things and taking very simple concepts that make sense for it, like the different covenants throughout the city and like how there's certain bars for vampires and everything else, and how he's half and like he still has the bloodlust, but Whistler's created the synthetic blood for him to like all these different little concepts. And it's just all three of these movies. I know a lot of people hate Blade Trinity. I personally like Blade Trinity a lot.
I can't stand Blade Trinity.
I like it a lot.
See, when we get into the later Blade movies, this is another one where I think
Blade Trinity. I didn't even put it on this list, so we don't even have to worry about it.
I thought the later Underworld movie, were good movies, but they didn't live up to like what Underworld did for me, and I feel very similar to the Blade movies in some way. Don't get me wrong. There's relevance and things I enjoy about the other movies too, but Blade and on its face value as that first movie, like you said, I think it paved the way.
Oh, 100%.
I just do, and I like the way it's shot. I like the way it ends.
Yeah.
I like,
no disrespect.
The action in that movie.
But I think we're all on the same page here, and it's Blade,
oh, it's Blade.
Yeah. I mean,
that's not to take away
the
from
age we were when it came out. The fact that it came from comics, the style of it, you know what I mean. It's undeniable how much I'll watch Blade. I watch Blade every now and then.
And let me take it back. When I say like it drew on this comic thing and it took like the cartooniness away, I don't mean that negatively towards like comics in general. But when you're trying to make these movies, I think that everybody when they were trying to at that time,
the Batman and Robin
did where they just tried to make it this overly theatrical thing instead of making a movie that's like brought you to a different.
Because at the time, Hollywood didn't take comic book serious in the way they do now. And I feel like this conversation, because we're all going Blade, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
It's Blade. We've talked about 30 Days of Night, and we'll go right into Blade 2.
Okay.
Which is hard because I do think Bram Stoker deserves to be in the next categories. So like, you know, pairing up a Blade, but because Bram Stoker, as far as is just the way it's shot as a movie and the acting and the story. I mean, it is
another
amazing.
movie.
It is amazing. They're very
highly
movies.
stylized.
Oh,
you know what I mean? They threw a lot of style into a movie that wasn't going to have action or anything. You know what I mean?
And then that's something that I know we'll probably touch upon when we get to interview.
Right. But then to go right to Blade 2, I love Blade 2.
I 100% agree. And the idea of
the other thing too is like, so you have him. He not only has to team up with the vampires that he's been hunting because there's something now higher on the evolution than him.
I like
but the bad guy in the movie, like he is a bad guy, but he isn't a bad guy at the exact same time. You know what I mean? Right. The only human he kills in that entire movie is a drug dealer.
Right.
And he sees this dude deal drugs, and he kills him because his thirst is so bad. He wanted, like, because to them that human blood is even sweeter than vampire blood. But he only kills a drug dealer. That's the only human he kills. The rest of the time, they feed on vampires. That entire army that they create in the sewers, they were all previously just vampires.
And one thing
you know what I mean?
Loved about
and he's reluctant to be who he is the entire time. And the only reason he fights Blade at the end is because, like, you just have this nature in you to survive. At the same time, he doesn't want to survive. And it's shown by the fact that once he finally gets the sword pushed in here, like, he goes down, but he could rip it out. He doesn't. He pushes it in further. Right. You know what I mean? Like, he's such a good bad guy because he's not exactly a bad guy.
Antagonist, I would say.
Yeah, he's the antagonist. He's not truly. He wipes out most of the bad guys.
Is the parallels between him and Blade himself.
Right.
So you have vampires and you have him on one end of what could evolutionary happen, and you got Blade who's on the other end of it. And I think Blade sees a lot of himself in him, especially once he realizes what's going on and everything.
Right.
And I love Norman Reedus in this as the Familiar.
Yeah.
And like you got Ron Perlman pre-Hellboy in it.
Yeah, like, Ron Perlman's such a good dick. Like
just
the
interaction between Blade and the vampires, and like essentially like having this Night Stalker-esque team that Blade's on, but they're all vampires.
Right.
And
Donnie Yen is in it. He doesn't say a word.
Dude, yes. And
he doesn't say a word. Like the best, like it's like he has one of the best scenes, and all he does, like the vampire jumps up, or the thing just, and he literally like looks at him and he just points at him as he's walking. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's like, you're like, oh crap. If Donnie Yen pointed at me, I'd crap my pants because he's gonna kick me in the face 1,000 times before I can even block. You know what I mean? But like, it's it's a great. I thought it was a great sequel. It's because it is nothing like the first one. You know what I mean? In that way, like it's not shot similarly.
Nope.
It's not. It's like it's a completely different film
had, like,
gradient.
A red tint to it.
You know what I mean? Like the first one still had that grainy, like 90s gradient to it, and then Blade 2 didn't have that. It was all on like the newer cameras, and it was like the newer cameras, the newer angles. You know, obviously different directors, but like, it didn't try to be anything like the first one. Like the first one, you know, took like you said, like all of the myth, you know, like the different houses and all the stuff, and like the blood god, and it took like it took like it had a little bit of science with with all the blood stuff in it, like the hematologist. That was in it.
Del Toro directed it.
You know, but then the second one steered hard into the science to be like, yes, we tried to create something that was better than you, and we actually created him, and you know, and he's
the Jurassic Park.
You know, and it's very different, and it tried to be nothing like the first one. And I think that's what made it great. It was a completely new story, completely different bad guys. I'm definitely going to put it over 30 Days of Night for me.
Yeah, I was feeling like we were leaning towards 30 Days on that one.
You know, but it's like I gotta get my time in to talk about. About Blade 2.
I do. I think it was good. So yeah, it's like Blade 2. I mean, Blade 2.
Yeah, and that leads us into Fright Night verse Interview with a Vampire.
I think Interview with a Vampire is a great movie.
Interview with a Vampire is so good, it's stupid.
It is stupid good. It brings in the time.
Stupid how
Christina
good it is.
Ricci in that movie was terrifying.
No,
Kristen Dunst. I'm sorry.
Kristen
I don't know
Dunst,
why I said Christina Ricci. Kristen Dunst was terrifying in that movie.
Oh, you got Brad Pitt. You got Tom Cruise.
Brad Pitt. Tom Cruise was amazing.
Tom Cruise was so good as Lestat that it was just ridiculous.
I really wish that he would have come back for Queen of the
So I'm over here. Are we going Interview?
We're going Interview. I mean, I think Interview.
Like as much as I love,
there's a question.
As much as I love Fright Night, I literally I'd have to punch myself for putting.
Do we really have to talk about the next one? Like I think.
Oh no, it's Buffy.
Yeah, it's
Buffy, the original Buffy.
You like Buffy?
I don't have anything to throw at you. But I mean, over my best friend's a vampire. Yes, we're definitely going Buffy. If only let me get back on camera for this. If only for Luke Perry's performance in this alone. You know what I mean? If only for that.
How about Paul Rubens?
Paul Rubens or the death thing. It's so great. It's so good, he just keeps on not dying. It's so good, it's like the longest death scene ever,
So I'll just get this out of the way now, ranting and raving about Buffy. The series is one of my all-time favorites, and
don't get me started on the series. We don't have time.
He made his hair look like Spike for at least 2 years.
I know.
No, I didn't. I can't go full blonde. It wasn't possible.
Well, I know you had to frost tip it.
I had the word.
And they were gold. They didn't even turn blonde because my hair doesn't do that.
Shansu tattooed on my arm.
What?
The Shansu prophecy, the angel.
Oh yeah.
That's tattooed on my arm.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
The movie itself. Okay.
Quick question before we get anything though. Spike? Okay. You even knew where I was going to go. Spike or Angel? It's Spike.
It's always
flat out.
It's always
because
Spike.
You want to know why? And I'll tell you.
Because he fought for his soul.
Exactly.
That's why. I like that I didn't even have to ask. Let me ask you one question. It's Spike.
You know what? You know what I like about that? You know what I like about that question, though? When you think of the character Spike, you know that he knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so this movie, even though they actually have a comic adaptation of the original script that ties into the show, so which is less comedy because they took this movie, they made it into a comedy,
right?
And I still love this, and for about 4 years I was in love with Christy Swanson, and then
the Chase came out. That movie's. I think still
and
great.
And then I think it might have been like 2003. No, I don't know. Early 2000s, her Playboy came out. She was beautiful, beautiful woman. But this movie, I remember as a kid, before we had moved overseas. So I was 10, 8, 9, and seeing this movie for the first time and laughing because at this time, really my other favorite vampire movie, Lost Boys, was the vampire movie I really knew. And to see the genre approached in a different way with the more comedic, because there's definitely way serious points of this movie.
Right.
But I think it's got such a good balance, and I feel like it was such ahead of its time. And even though I would love to see a version of it with Sarah Michelle Gellar and everything else, I think this is one of those movies that I can go back and watch it anytime.
Oh yeah,
it's a cult class. It's a classic, man.
Enjoy it. It's not flawed. It's not the whole him.
Ben Affleck is a basketball player,
right? The whole her training scene and the fact that she was a cheerleader.
Donald Sutherland is the Watcher.
Yes,
I mean,
it just it obviously was.
I think it paves the way too because when you think vampire movies, everybody I don't think the first thing you think of is comedy off the bat. Right. And there's some good movies now that came out. Like I'll throw it up there. It's not on our list, but I'll throw it as an honorable mention. What We Do in the Shadows,
yes,
is just comedic gold, and it's just so great. And I mean, there's a series right now that's out, but there was a movie shot before that led to that series, and it's made by like Jermaine and Brett there, who from the Flight of the Conchords, which are just hilarious. They're comedic gold, but movies like Buffy, I just don't think you have that same genre of it without movies like Buffy.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
And I kind of don't like you for this next one, Garrett.
Why? What did I do?
John Carpenter's Vampires versus Dusk Till Dawn.
Oof.
Like
the similar kind of style. Similar.
Very very similar style.
Similar style, and Vampires definitely. I just the opening scene of that movie. That whole movie was great, and they couldn't have casted it better.
That's one of the first movies I remember, like, that an advertising campaign made me, like, couldn't wait for a movie because they had ads on back of every comic for, like, 3 months.
Yeah, forever.
And, like, I'm like, I like Vampire because at this point I'm like 12,
and I remember it because it was very much like the front of it was very much like the cover. It was the setting sun with the entire team, our entire team standing on a ridge, in all their gear, and you couldn't actually see anybody.
Right.
You know, what I really like about it is it's like here's the team, you see how well they work, then the Master Vampire shows up and takes out like all but 2,
right, and
they still have to go through the rest of the movie, and the only person that they pick up to help them is a brand new priest. That's it.
Right. And that priest should have been should have been Clooney.
I see your point. That would have been funny, but that guy did a really good job.
Yeah, he did.
As it was that. Yep. And it was
George Clooney.
And that was the ad. It was just that.
Yeah.
John Carpenter's Vampires, and everyone was like, I was like, first off, John Carpenter, and then Vampires. You had me. Yeah. It could have just said that.
And James Woods is so good in that movie.
Yeah,
dude, he is.
What's his name?
They actually
the Baldwin.
James Woods was actually they wanted to nominate him for an Academy Award because of his acting in that movie. And for a vampire movie of especially like a John Carpenter, you don't think that would go that level, but if you watch that movie, his acting is awesome.
Danny Baldwin?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Was it Danny?
I think it was Dan. Yeah. The one that lives around here.
Yeah, he lives up by
Danny Baldwin.
Yeah.
He was so good in that. I really liked how, at the end he let him go.
Yeah.
And he gave him the time. It's like, all right, but it's like
point break him.
He point break him, but then he lets him go. But like the priest in a 14-hour span became like a super badass, and like he was just gonna kill Montoya right there.
Yep.
And he's like, no, you're gonna let him go, and he's like, no, we'll find you in 2 days. Like, it was awesome.
And as much as I love Dusk Till Dawn, like I'm going Vampires on this.
I think Dusk Till Dawn, I don't know, like it's these movies are close. They're close.
Close.
They're close in the way and like the overall kind of tone of them a little bit.
Style's
they both got
similar,
that like that Midwest like that shot to them in the desert.
Yep.
90s style of shooting.
Yeah, 90s.
It almost feels like a cowboy western.
I like how the
same film gradient.
Yep.
The vampires, other than the Master Vampire, the vampires are just brutal. They're just brutal. Like he had to.
They're animals.
Yeah, they're just animals. Yeah, they're animals.
If it's not Valet creating master vampires, they're animals.
Yeah, they're just devoid of all humanity.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I like that. Like,
yeah, me too.
Whereas,
Dusk Till Dawn was kind of like that too.
That's what I mean. The vampires were similar.
You had all the people who were interacting in the bar, and they were obviously the bigger, stronger ones because once the bats came in, they were they had no clothes. They were like half bat when they were like as a person. They had the big ears, no clothes, like the messed up face. You know what I mean? So very similar in that sense of like, yes, the from Dusk Till Dawn, they were a little more Hollywood.
If there was some tweaking, to those movies plot lines, you almost could have had them be a follow up to one. That could have been Dusk Till Dawn 2 in a way, you know.
You could have that Vatican team like swoop in at the end of Dusk Till Dawn and like save them, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm going vampires.
Yeah,
you're gonna go vampires.
I'm gonna go vampires too.
Okay, well, I don't even have to make a choice. Cool with me.
And I don't think we have to make a choice for the next one either. I think Underworld beats Van Helsing.
Underworld beats Van Helsing. We don't even
110%.
Underworld was very
overall.
I think you and I went to the theater together to see that.
Yeah, I think I went twice to see that movie.
Yeah,
I loved everything about that movie. Just the way it was shot. The storyline, Lucien was awesome.
Lucien was
the music and score to that movie was amazing, which is sometimes a big deal to me. Like I especially vampire movies, it sets a scene.
Let's talk about it because.
Okay, so we know Lost Boys is going to go on because it's Lost Boys.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we have time to talk about Lost Boys?
I will very, very briefly talk about Lost Boys.
About how good of a movie it just is. Period.
I was probably 7, and Fox used to every Saturday air like a newer movie that they got whatever the rights to. And Saturdays is when we'd go to church. We go to Saturday evening mass instead of going Sunday morning. And I knew Lost Boys was coming on, so we had the VCR set up and everything. And the movie was going to be coming on like 10 minutes after we left home. So I put the cassette in. I have no idea what thing of my parents I recorded over, and I recorded, went to church, came home, rewound the tape, and I watched Lost Boys for the first time off of a TV recording. So it was a TV version of it. And I immediately fell in love with this movie.
It's because it's great.
It's
a couple years later, we moved overseas. I'm on base, and I see the cassette of Lost Boys. And I just happened to have like $12.99 with me and bought it, and then got to see the full real version of The Lost Boys. And this movie is absolute perfection in my eye. The soundtrack, the score,
the style,
absolutely, and
perfect 80s vampire movie,
just perfect vampire movie in general. And coming of
Kiefer
age.
Sutherland. As a teenage vampire, you know what I mean? Like the blonde mullet, just put,
Richard
you know what I mean? Like
Gilmore as the lead vampire. The
you didn't see it. I remember watching it for the first time, and I was like,
especially if
it's the nice guy.
Especially after they did the tests on him because they suspected him.
Yeah.
Like Jason Patrick, like the Coreys, the grandfather is the coolest grandfather ever. It's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, when he goes to grab the bit, he's just like, the only thing about living here is all damn vampires.
Like he knew the whole time.
Yeah.
He knew the whole time.
And the only bad thing I can say about Lost Boys is they so badly dropped the ball with the sequel movies in the 2000s.
Okay. Now, the second one, I will say, is because it tried to be like its own thing. I actually really like the third one, The Thirst, where it's Corey Feldman really takes over, and then
the ending of that,
Jameson, Jameson, I don't know why I can't remember his last name. He, coming back, and he got turned into a vampire, and then they're trying to find the first vampire to finally wipe them all out. And I thought the style of that movie was actually really good. The way a lot of the stuff was shot, it is unfortunate that because at the end of I don't know if it was the end of the second one or
I think it was
an extra.
It was the end of the third one.
No, they had Corey Haim.
Yeah,
but Corey Haim, no, because Corey Haim had passed before the third one came out.
Okay, so then it was.
I think it was the end of the second one, and it was like.
Oh, and then they alluded to that he killed.
Yeah,
in the third
and he's like, "Oh, have you talked to Michael?" He's like, a guy doesn't really want to talk to you when you put a stake in his brother's chest, So he literally says that he killed. Sam?
Yeah,
Sam. Yeah. He alludes to the fact that he killed Sam because they couldn't do it because Corey Haim unfortunately passed away.
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys. It's Lost Boys. It's so good. That song, that
Cry Little Sister.
It's so
it's got again for me. It's got the music. It's got the plot.
It's got the style.
It's got the cult classic. It's got the rewatchability.
Oh my god!
The comedy in it. It's got everything.
Hate horror movies, and I made them watch Lost Boys, and even though they were kind of afraid, they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And for the time it was made.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
And then I'm pretty sure Queen of the Damned beats Twilight, right, guys?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Queen of the Damned.
Queen of the Damned was great.
So good. I mean, just so it's like you're gonna take the idea of Lestat and he's just gonna wake up. He's gonna wake up and hear some music and decide, yeah, I think I'll be a rock star now.
Now,
you know what I mean? Like that's just
to be a little devil's advocate, and not necessarily in the ranking
soundtrack,
but
one of the best soundtracks ever.
Oh, we might get there later, but if you look at Queen of the Damned as a follow up to Interview with a Vampire, because it's all in that Anne Rice series, I don't know that. They're different. They're different.
Right.
They're way different.
They're different, but it's all because it's a different era. Like he literally, like Lestat, like supposedly, like just goes to sleep like they do. He just hibernates and he wakes up and hears that, and he's just like, "Oh, this is cool to be a rock star now."
Now,
you know what I mean? Like,
does Queen of the Damned live up to the books though?
I've never read the
I haven't. I've never read
the way that Twilight does in that sense, but I have to say I like the fact that both of them are based off books.
Yeah.
And Queen of the Damned was just great. I mean,
so good.
The action was great.
Was it good enough for you to give up your Team Edward card?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not that beholden to Twilight, but I think that a lot.
You think it gets a bad rap?
I think that a lot of people because it's so focused on the love story, and the first movie's kind of very high schoolish, kind of set in there.
It's almost like the Harry Potter books, where as it goes on, it gets better because the characters have aged up, and you throw away like the high school stuff, the nonsense stuff.
Yeah, I think it gets that bad rep, and especially when a lot of my friends and a lot of guys are talking about it. You know what I mean? I think that it was marketed in a different way, but
it definitely was marketed.
But I give it a lot of credit. I think it was a well done movie. But Queen of the Damned, yeah, I mean, especially as a personal favorite.
Aaliyah was amazing.
Aaliyah was great. Yep.
Amazing. It's unfortunate that she didn't get to act more because she was so good.
Yep.
As that vampire.
Cradle to the Grave, she was great in.
Yeah.
Dude, the sets in Queen of the Damned were amazing. Like every scene, every set that they did, the music. I mean, you got Deftones in there. You got Chester working with Jonathan Davis.
Yeah, David Draymond. Jonathan Davis was Lestat's singing voice in the movie, but then they re-recorded a bunch of stuff for the actual soundtrack using other people's. It was like David Draymond and Chester and just Static. Wayne Static did a song. It was just all these amazing people. Coal Chamber was doing songs or something like that.
Huge Korn fan, and like Jonathan Davis's voice, and especially because of how his voice and how hauntingly beautiful his voice is.
That's why he was perfect for it. Like 100%. If you were like, how would a vampire sing? You'd be like Jonathan Davis.
Like Korn.
I just love how
he'd sing like Jonathan Davis.
I just love how he decided, we're gonna be known, and he takes that and like I said, the scenes in that movie, and when they go in and the king and queen are there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that room, the way that they did it, just looks so cool. The concert at the end
looks so ancient. You know what I mean?
It just looks so. They did a really good job, and I just think the storyline was good. And Queen of the Damned is definitely an amazing. It beats Twilight.
Yeah.
So then that puts us with Blade versus Blade.
This might be the bigger discussion than any other thing that ends up on here. Blade or Blade 2?
I'm going with Blade 100%, just because I don't think you have Blade 2 without Blade.
True.
And you just. I'll let you go, Garrett.
Oh, come on.
Do you want to be the tiebreaker?
So you're going Blade 2?
No, I'm going Blade.
Blade has Deacon Frost, and I still say, out of all these movies here, Deacon Frost is one of the best character vampires. I just think he was amazing
because he's a smug prick. Like he was a smug entitled prick.
Yeah, but he was just you could feel the evil from
Deacon
him.
Frost and the sprinkler scene. That's all I have to say.
But the sprinklers, yeah, the way the movie started. Oh my God.
So then we got what? Interview versus Buffy.
Interview versus Buffy.
Buffy.
Really?
100%.
Over Interview with a Vampire?
No, I listen. I love Buffy, and
it's not about what's a better movie. It's about what I like
true.
and what's more rewatchable.
I mean, I would rewatch Buffy, but I'm not sure I can put. I'm not sure I can put it.
Just Buffy or Interview.
Just the acting that what they did for the acting in that movie, how true it was to that book, how good Kristen Dunst did. You know, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt were amazing. The efforts they put into going back in time and the timepiece of it, like, oh man, it just the way it was shot.
Louis' revenge scene where he's pissed off at all the people.
Yeah,
so he just burns everybody. Like, you know, it's so good.
It's so serious and I don't know, but don't get me wrong, like this takes nothing away from Buffy.
I can't.
You just took everything away.
No, I can't argue that. Like, okay, you're gonna rewatch one of the two. Like, Buffy is like it's gonna take less of your time. It's funnier, you know what I mean? But like, what is a better vampire movie? I mean, it's Interview.
It's Interview.
Oh, okay, like it's got to be Interview.
Nothing against Buffy. But.
No, I love the Buffy movie. Don't get me wrong.
But again, and I had spoke to you guys before we got going with all this too, and I said, you know, I think that if you wanted to build different categories, you could have a different movie in the center.
Yeah,
you know, if you're looking at different styles and approaches to the vampire concept.
Right. So now we got John Carpenter's Vampires versus Underworld. This is a good matchup.
So we didn't get to.
So this is where it usually moves
a
little. This is where the show starts to move a little faster. Once this bracket is set, it's like boom, 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 boom. You know.
So Underworld, when it came out, I love the concept and how
it's quite different than what people had normally seen.
Correct.
Different take on it.
But it was very early 2000s with the black leather and everybody
had a Matrix-ish feel a little bit.
Matrix, the first X-Men series. Yep. That's what badasses wore. And it was my first introduction to Kate Beckinsale, and I fell in love with her then. And I loved the concept of the weapon, like the guns that they had with, you know, like the silver and the sunlight,
the UV bullets,
and I thought those were like there were such good ideas put forth, and I thought the movie was very, very well executed. Scott Speedman played your fish out of water character, like your perspective character, very, very well, because he just was like, what is going on? And then like, oh, I'm this, I come from both families, what am I supposed to be? Like, I loved it. But there's always been something about John Carpenter's Vampires for me that almost, like, Underworld's more like a superhero movie to me.
Okay.
Whereas Vampires was more like
a vampire hunting movie.
If somebody came in here right now, shut the door, locked it, was like, we need to hold up. There's vampires coming in right now. Like, it was very, very like realistic for as much as it could be.
Well, I definitely cry my pants.
Yeah, and like it was a different take on it, and so very realistic in its sense.
I'm gonna very, very buy this much. Go Vampires over Underworld.
What about you, Scott?
I don't know. Underworld's one of those ones where I don't know. It stands in my favorite list of vampire movies.
It's like putting Buffy over.
No, I see what you're saying. That's a tough choice because there's definitely qualities of both of those movies I like. I think that they're very not similar. I don't think that they're similar in any way. So they're kind of on two separate playing fields in some right. I don't know.
Do you want me to make it so you don't have to choose? Because I'll go Vampires.
You're going Vampires?
And you don't have to choose. Because it's two. I
really think you're right. Because Vampires, John Carpenter took it to a different level, and he told a different story, and I think it was extremely successful.
And
it's not that Hollywood kind of like push that was happening in that time frame. Like you said, Underworld is a little more of a superhero movie. You got the werewolves, where John Carpenter's Vampires is all about vampires.
Yes.
Right.
So, yeah.
So then we
I'll go with
have
that.
Lost Boys vs. Queen of the Damned.
Okay. As great as everything about like the cultural phenomenon that like that Queen of the Damned was,
Lost Boys, dude.
it's Lost Boys.
It's Lost Boys.
You know what I mean? It's still Lost Boys because it's just Lost Boys. Okay.
So then, everyone, our final four.
Blade.
The first Blade versus Interview with a Vampire, and then John Carpenter's Vampires.
We just cringed at each other. Scott and I just cringed at each other.
So
this sucks.
That sucks.
This sucks.
Again, I think we're entering that realm where you have the same, Blade is a comic reference movie, and Interview with a Vampire is more this like serious,
Blade
story.
will be my first choice. And like we've talked
We're
about
going
everything.
Blade.
I'm
right?
going Blade. Yeah, I'm going Blade because I really think Deacon Frost would kick everyone in an Interview with a Vampire's ass.
Yeah.
And then we
I think the only person standing
John
up to him
and
is
Blade.
maybe Lestat.
John Carpenter's Vampires versus Lost Boys. Lost
Lost Boys.
Lost Boys.
Okay.
So, and this is kind of how I thought it was going to
I knew it was going to come down to probably like I had maybe one or two other ones I thought it'd be in there, but I knew
thought
that
Buffy
these
would've
two
made
would be
it
in the
far
high
more.
ranking.
It is what it is.
I thought.
Now you know how I feel on other shows where I'm like, come on.
Listen, if Garrett didn't vote Buffy, that's the only thing that makes me firm in my commitment with my decision, because he's very partial to Buffy.
Oh yeah,
So-
but the Buffy movie is also very different from the Buffy show, so we can't. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to say, guys, and this is the first time we've ever done this. On the count of three, go with your gut instinct. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Lost
Blade.
Boys.
Oh.
Wow.
And it's nothing again. I don't know, man. Blade just is such a. Blade is so good.
I'm telling you, like, Scott and I were like, we watched this movie all the time. We like you and I talk about a lot about the stuff that we write.
Yeah.
The thing that I wrote that took me 15 years to perfect, like the 10-season show that I wrote, started because him and I watched Blade too much, and so and we're like, oh, wouldn't this be cool of this, and wouldn't this be cool of this, and we took our friends and made them into characters and da 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 da, and then I just took off with it and ran because that's what my brain does.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that all started because of how much we sat in his room and watched Blade.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? That's how it started.
And I just think Blade has paved the way for a lot of things. I just think that it was just well done, and I don't know. I like everything about it. The action, it has that mythology in it. It has a little bit of a little horror aspect to it, you know. Yeah. But the action is great. Like you said, that sprinkler scene. There's just so many scenes in that movie. I don't think there's not a moment in that movie where I felt bored or anything. Not that I felt bored at all anywhere in Lost Boys.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe. I really am sorry. I know.
But that's the thing.
I could feel the sadness coming.
Yeah, you can actually feel your mood change.
I'm gonna go sit in the corner and I'm just gonna listen to Cry Little Sister. But like that's the beautiful thing about this show. Like it could be because everybody's perspectives are different. We like making this a little bit of our own version of a democracy. And I'm not mad Blade won. Like I love Blade. Obviously, I voted for it all the way through.
Yeah.
I just didn't see him being king of the vampires.
Yeah, it's just because a lot of times we have to look at the movies in different light. It's like, okay, when you have a hard time deciding which is better, it's like, okay, because of the category it's in, what is it better for this or is it better for that? And it's like
when we do 80s
or when you feel like they match, we always end up coming to the same thing. Like what's more rewatchable. And I feel like if I'm going to sit there and watch, like, okay, pick between the two, I feel like more of the times I would pick Blade than Lost Boys. Like, if I watch Blade, like, Yeah, it's like if you gave me the two to watch, like I would watch Blade first, and then I would watch Lost Boys. You know what I mean? And like because it's like that's the movie I want to rewatch like right now.
And we all know Scott would watch Twilight first.
No, definitely not.
Hashtag Team Edward.
No, listen. Here's where I feel about Twilight. Right? I feel like if Deacon Frost was in the Twilight movies, then they wouldn't have won.
Yeah. It would have been bad. It would have been super bad. But that's it. That's vampires.
That's vampires. Shout out to our sponsors. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, you make the show happen.
Make sure everybody follows everything on the D. Follow us on Facebook. Follow the TikTok at Joey Stones, Instagram, D on the YouTube. Scott, you got anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to promote for yourself?
No, man, just thanks for inviting me and having me down here for this.
You're supposed to say go Comets.
And go Comets, man. Come on, well, this is aired.
This will come Friday, so Game 2 will be Saturday.
Yeah, Game 2. So Game 2 Saturday. Go Comets, man.
Scott, you're welcome back anytime. Anytime you want to come back.
Anytime, man. Thanks for making our graphics and everything again. We appreciate it. So yeah, and we'll see everybody next time on Movie Madness.
All right, we're out.